video. Okay, we are now live, Madam Mayor.
Okay, it's 4 o'clock and we have all of council here. So we'll call the meeting to order.
Other than Philip Smith, I think is the only one we're waiting on.
Oh, right. Okay. We'll get started and Philip is probably on his way in as we speak. Have a motion moved by Nikki Gowdy and seconded by Bill McDonald that the agenda for the council meeting held March 8th, 2022 be approved as presented. Are there any amendments, Kathy?
Yes, there are, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Under the number 7 staff reports, it will be number E, fire services. And the chief will do the discussion on that.
Okay. Okay, so approve the motion as the agenda as amended. All those in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure pecuniary interest in general nature thereof of any item on tonight's agenda by any member of council? Seeing none, we'll note that in the minutes. Have a motion moved by Victor Hayes and seconded by Brent Cameron that the minutes of the regular meeting held February 22nd, 2022, and the special council meeting held February the 25th, 2022, be approved as presented.
It would be as amended, Madam Mayor. There was just a few typing or in different words, so I provided those to Cindy this morning, so she has made those amendments.
Okay, so approved as amended. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Mayor's remarks, I just have a few, and that is that it looks like we're getting closer to the end of these crazy times we've been in for the past 2 years, and looking forward to getting back to our new normal when we can actually meet together. And further on in the meeting, we have a procedural bylaw that will allow us to do that. So it's been a long haul. I want to thank council for all of your patience and all of the work that you've done and the struggles we've had with technology, but I think we're now all experts in it. We even know how to get unmuted when we're starting to talk. We've come a long way. I think for the public, it will be good in that our meetings will now be more accessible to people because we will be recording them and we now have the technology and the know-how to do that. So some good things have come of the past 2 years along with some of the bad things. So thank you for all of the work and participation that you folks have done. Deputy Mayor Juan, do you have something to add?
Nothing at this time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything to add? Okay. If not, we'll move on then to staff reports. And our first report is moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Tom Dewey, that council received the construction details report February 2022 for information. Any comments or questions on that report? Looks like we're off to a flying start again. Work is picking up, Andy?
Yes, Madam Mayor, it's looking to be a busy spring.
It's not really picking up, it's just never slowed down, eh?
That's right.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Next, we have motion moved by Sherry Wan, seconded by Cindy Kelsey. Whereas the Building Code Act provides that the municipality can appoint building inspectors in addition to its chief building official for the purpose of providing inspection services as required under the said act. And whereas the township previously appoints, where the township's previous appointment bylaw need to be updated to reflect current staff and qualified inspectors. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council receive this report for information and consider passing the said bylaw later in the meeting, bylaws later in the meeting. Discussion? Kathy, do you want to just speak to this?
Yes, what Andy was doing is there is some changes in regard to the previous bylaw that we appointed. Certainly, we have hired Greg Liskin as the building inspector. And there was also changes with the other inspectors in South Frontenac. I think there was just one that has left, has it not, Andy? And you've added in the replacement, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So it's to keep up to date on what we, for those inspectors, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Bill, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wondered if this new bylaw, are we going to be broadcasting all of our council meetings through Zoom or something, even though we might be in live as a meeting?
I'll have Cindy take that. I believe it will be recorded on YouTube.
On YouTube. Mhm.
Cindy,
Yes.
how will that work?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, we will still be doing a hybrid format, so we would still be streaming to YouTube. Unless we're in a location that doesn't provide for internet services. But we could talk a little bit more about that in the report for the procedural bylaw.
Okay. Victor, do you have a point of order?
I do have a point of order, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
I believe that the motion that was read was related to building inspectors, but
Yes.
the discussion is related to the procedural bylaw.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor.
Let's make sure that that's my job, right?
It is. We rely on you to do that. So Bill, you have to save that conversation till we get to the procedural bylaw. All right. All those in favor of the motion that was just read? Motion's carried. Leave it to Bill to take us off track, right? Okay. Have a motion moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Tom Dewey. Whereas council amended the procedural bylaw at the start of the pandemic in order to allow council meetings to be held via electronic participation while we were in a state of emergency. And whereas the state of emergency is anticipated to be lifted in the near future, which would require us to go back to in-person meetings without an electronic, virtual, or hybrid option. And whereas in order to still offer virtual electronic participation in certain circumstances outside of the state of emergency, a further amendment is required to the procedural bylaw. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council receive this report for information and consider passing said bylaw later in the meeting so that we can continue to offer electronic participation in addition to in-person meetings. Discussion. Victor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I support this. I think this is really great. I'm assuming that we can amend this later to fine tune it a little bit, because I think in the future, there may be instances where people are going to be asking to attend via electronic services rather than in person. So, for example, now, and the examples we have here are illness or weather, but there could also be something like a vacation. So if somebody goes on vacation, they go to Florida, they could be able to, they would be technologically able to attend. So I think there should be some sort of tweaking to the bylaw to say what is permissible. And I believe we had in previous discussions, we had also talked about how many times this will be permissible. And so this, I'm not asking for anything at this point. It's just, I'm suggesting that in the future, we tweak this a little bit.
Yes, good point.
And I can speak to that, Madam Mayor. This was just to get us out of, because we're going to be coming out of the state of emergency. So then this will allow us to continue to, meet electronic if need be. But yes, there are plans. I'm going to be reviewing the whole procedural bylaw, because there's certainly some items that need to be adjusted and certainly changed. And this will be one of them. We will put in more details in regards to those circumstances.
Very good.
Yes.
Thank you, Kathy.
And I think you're right. The Municipal Act does have a requirement that if you miss 3 consecutive meetings, you basically can give up or have to give up your seat. So I think we want to be sure that people are not going to take advantage of the virtual and try to put the effort into coming to the meetings and being a part of the face-to-face discussions. So I think some kinds of limits or repercussions need to be put on there if people don't follow what the intent of it is. I think the intent is if you're feeling sick and you may have COVID down the road, you need to stay home and come in virtually. Or if the weather is bad, not to risk your life coming to a meeting, but to be able to be part of the meeting by the virtual. So I think it's pretty practical, and if it gets abused, then we'll have to change it. Any further discussions on the motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Part of moving into our new world. Okay, next we have administration doctor recruitment, and that's me. And I want to just make a verbal presentation to council to explain what this is about. The mayors of the 4 municipalities, so the islands, South Frontenac, Central, and North Frontenac, were invited to a meeting virtually last week by the doctors of the area, that being Dr. Bell, doctors in Verona, Sydenham, and Northbrook, to talk about doctor recruitment. They're all going to be facing the need to recruit doctors, and right now, recruiting doctors is next to impossible. So everything needs to be done to try and prepare ourselves to speak to the graduates that are coming out in the spring to see if we can get them to come to our communities. Dr. Bell is looking at some sort of cutting back to in the next year or two. Verona could use some help, Sydenham as well. In Northbrook, North Frontenac has committed some dollars to help out. This group is going to be talking to the county as well to look at some sort of doctor recruitment. Kingston, for instance, is giving $100,000 over 5 years to attract doctors to come to the community. So that's what we're up against. If there's a doctor who's going to relocate to Eastern Ontario, he or she is probably going to go where there is these extra recruitment dollars to help out. So in order for us to compete, we need to look at doing something. The ask that I bring to the table today is not for those recruitment dollars, because we're going to speak to the county about that. But end of April, there is a recruitment and retention or a recruitment seminar happening in Ottawa. It's for rural physicians recruitment. The cost to get a table or a booth at that event, it's a 3-day event, is $2,800. So what the doctors are asking is if the county will help supply brochures and information to set up a booth, which they said they would do for us, would the municipalities consider pulling together to pay that cost of the $2,800 to rent the booth for the 3 days? What I propose is that if we put in $1,000 and ask at least 2 of the others, North Frontenac wasn't represented on our call, and they are already committed to funding some help in Northbrook. So there would be 3 of us, the islands, South Frontenac, and Central Frontenac. So if we each agree to put into up to $1,000 to cover that $2,800, I think it may be worth getting our names out there and our need and introducing them to our community. So that is my ask today. I'll read the motion and then answer any questions that you might have. So moved by Victor and seconded by Nikki that council received the verbal report from the mayor on behalf of the Family Health Team regarding doctor recruitment. And further that council agreed to fund up to $1,000 towards the recruitment program, provided the other Frontenac municipalities also agree to contribute. So Bill and then Victor and then Tom.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to you, is that what's the situation if the other two do not want to contribute? Would there be any advantage to us contributing the 3,000?
It certainly could be. It could be the difference between whether or not it happens. Dr. Bell basically isn't prepared to fund this on his own, and the other docs aren't prepared to throw in money to do it. There's no guarantees that this is going to get us a doctor. So it's a major dollar commitment for them. Victor?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a 3-day event and the table costs $2,800.
Yes.
Who is going to staff the table?
Yes.
And how are we going to pay for this? And I would say, this is a really important thing that needs to be done. And so I would propose that we boost this to maybe $1,300, $1,500, so that we can pay somebody to staff the table a per diem and also mileage.
Well, at this point, the executive director, Deborah Cross, has offered to staff the table. She has a home in Winchester, so it wouldn't be a bad drive into Ottawa. And Dr. Bell has funded Dr. Kunik to go and be the doctor at the booth to answer questions and be the person to represent the group. So he's doing that through his own cost and Dr. Bell's cost. So they're not asking for any cost for that purposes, just looking at the cost of renting the booth.
Okay, then I support just the 1,000.
Okay, Tom, and then back to Bill.
Thank you, Your Worship. I fully support this. I would have said a lot more than what you brought up here to help support this, because I think this is very important to the community. I really think, going along with what Councillor McDonald said, I think if the other municipalities don't kick in, that we should give ourselves a little wiggle room, and I would agree to supporting this for $3,000 or $2,800, whatever it is. So, and I fully support this. I think it's so important to the community. I know that when Stone Mills was recruiting a doctor out there, that was considerably more than this. So I definitely would support this.
I'm prepared to change the ask to up to $300, which does give us the wiggle room and would
I said
give them
3,000, Your Worship.
Sorry, 3,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would give them the ability to go ahead and book it, knowing there is that commitment, but with the hopes that the others will kick in as well.
Right.
I did speak to Ron Vanderwall, and he's taking it to his council and is hopeful that they'll come up with some funds as well. So I would be glad to change this. Brent?
I was just wondering, what's the follow-up on this? I mean, I agree with everybody. Doctor retention is a huge issue, and we need to be out there. I guess the question is, beyond this particular event and this particular ask, what are we looking at long-term with regard to recruitment?
Well, I think long-term, we're looking at trying to get the county to look at a dollar value to put towards recruitment, as well as helping put together some videos, some written material, and to help us promote Frontenac County, which in turn will give us something to take when we go to these events, but also something we could put on our websites to encourage doctors to take a look at us. Bill?
Yes, basically you're talking along the lines, Madam Mayor, to what I was thinking is, you said the question came from Victor, I believe, about who's going to be on that table. And you mentioned two people that are relatively new to the community, being in the healthcare only. I would suggest that what you need at that table is also someone who actually is familiar with all of the assets of the various communities have to offer, so that it becomes, because anybody that's interested in coming to our community is not just interested in providing healthcare, but what can the community provide for the individual in the way of a healthy life for them and their family. So I would suggest increasing the money a little bit would allow an opportunity for to send a delegate from perhaps yourself from the township that actually is aware of what kind of assets, like a public school, a high school, a separate school, all of the assets that the community has to offer, and especially a newer young family, because I'm a firm believer that we should not take the route of trying to recruit a doctor from another community, but rather recruit a doctor who's graduating, so that we don't create an issue somewhere else by solving our issues. So my feeling is that I would like to see that money increased a little bit and be able to offer the demonstration, or the tables offer more than just the healthcare view.
The one issue we have with this is they are limiting the number of people that can be in the booth. They're only allowed 2 people. And I think it's a very good point. But what these people will go armed with is they will have videos that will be supplied that will talk about our trails and our lakes and our country living and relaxed style, and will help to encourage people. The county has some videos now that are aimed at visitors, and they're working on new videos, more so to come and live here instead of just visit. So I think even though the 2 people going aren't from here, Danny's been here for 2 or 3 years now, Dr. Koenig, and loves his office that looks out over the lake. So definitely, and Deborah lives here as well. So they both will be able to present the beauties of the area and why somebody should come here to work and live. So I think your point is well taken for another event where we can have more than just the 2 people. I'm very pleased that council is supportive, because this really is an important issue. Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. If I may add, just going down the road, if everybody's agreed to this, that, looking down the road for future recruitment of doctors, I think that Frontenac County should look at a little bit more of an incentive for a doctor to come into the area. And I'm going to throw this number. It doesn't mean anything, but I know another municipality did similar to this, that they should probably guarantee or give that doctor, and I'll throw out a number, let's say $10,000 or $20,000 a year for a 3-year commitment to that municipality. And I think that's probably a little bit more attractive to a young doctor coming out of university, because they have already spent a ton of money on their education. So something along that line, I think, is more attractive to these young guys coming out. So I just want to throw that out, not for now, but just for something to talk about later on.
Yes, for sure. And that discussion will be coming up at the next county council meeting. So with your approval, then I will change the motion to say up to $3,000.
I would make that motion.
And I'll second that motion, Madam Mayor.
Well, I have a mover and a seconder.
Oh, you do?
I'm just changing the number of up to $3,000. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll call the question. So all those in favor, I'm just going to read this part. And further, that council agreed to fund up to $3,000 towards the recruitment program, provided the other Frontenac municipalities also agree to contribute. If they don't agree to contribute, I will bring it back to you. So all those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? Motion's carried. All right, thank you. Now we are at
Services, Madam Mayor.
fire services, yes. So I'm going to read the motion and then Chris is going to speak to this. Moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Bill McDonald. Whereas Chief McDonough expressed to council at the February 24th, 2022 meeting that there is a need for a new pumper tanker. And whereas he has received a commitment from a supplier and would like to enter into a letter of intent to secure the purchase in 2024. And whereas the CAO clerk has confirmed with legal counsel that this does not offend section 290(1-1) of the Municipal Act, as council is not adopting a budget, they are authorizing a purchase. Now therefore it be it resolved that council authorize the manager of emergency services fire chief to execute the necessary purchase documents to secure a new fire truck and to authorize the purchase for 2024. Discussion. Any questions for Chris? 2 years apparently to get a vehicle. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I fully support this, but I was just going to ask the chief, do we have to put a deposit on this up front, Chris?
You, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Dewey. No, that was the arrangement I made with the company, is that no funds will be put towards the truck this year. We would budget for next year and the year after, and when the final delivery comes.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of, oh, Chris, go ahead.
Just to add to that, Madam Mayor, just so you know, what the letter of intent will hold the price that we're getting to this date for 2024. I just want to make that clear to all of council. And thanks very much for understanding the process. It's a bit long.
Okay. Bill, did you have your hand up?
No, I was voting.
Oh, okay. Okay, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, moved by Brent Cameron, seconded by Cindy Kelsey. That council received for information the District 4 Rec Committee minutes from April 12th, 2021 and August 31, 2021. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And motion moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Nikki Gowdy. The council received for information the District 2 Rec Committee minutes from January 30th, 2022. Discussion. I noticed there was no council rep at that meeting. So we need to get District 2 Rec Committee. Philip, I think you're going to be doing that.
I've reached out to Corey Thompson, Madam Mayor, so he's aware that I'm there to help them. Don't have a date of the exact next meeting. He was thinking perhaps during the March break when people might be available. Like any other committee, they're looking for more volunteers to help them out and spread the work that they want to do. So if you know anybody in the Mountain Grove area that would be interested in the committee, they should reach out to Corey, I would suggest.
Okay. Great, thank you, Philip. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, moved by Victor Hayes, seconded by Bill McDonald, that council received for information the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority board minutes from December 1st, 2021, December 16th, 2021, and the board summary report dated February the 16th, 2022. Any discussion or comments? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay. Next, we have a visitation presentation from Glenn Tunnick. Glenn is from Glenn Tunnick of Tunnick Consulting, who will be looking at doing our zoning bylaw. Hello, Glenn. Do you want to turn on your video and your voice?
And there I am.
There you are. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Do you wish me to proceed at this point?
Yes, please go ahead.
Can council hear me okay? Is the audio okay? I'm
Yes,
seeing
it is.
everybody okay. Well, what I can say is it's great to be back. It's great to be back. And I want to thank council very, very much for awarding me the contract to update your zoning bylaw and to express your confidence in the services that I can provide for your municipality. It's almost like feeling old home week in a sense. I have already reviewed the most recent official plan, and I recognize there's a lot of content there from somebody else's previous plan. I think I might have had a hand in, but I've reviewed the official plan for the zoning related policies, prepared a document which Kathy can share with you if you are interested. But certainly it brought back lots of memories of issues that I dealt with in the past, the Garrison Shores development, White Lake, Bridgens Island, and many other circumstances. I have set out a timetable, which I believe council has a copy of as part of your agenda, and that will give you an idea of what my thoughts are in terms of what's required to be completed over the next several months, what the timing is to undertake those particular tasks. And certainly consultation is a component of it, consultation with council, consultation with the public as well. With respect to the existing bylaw, and I think I authored that sometime about a decade ago. And what I'm suggesting to council is it's not likely that I would recommend a new bylaw. It's you don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, because seriously, that bylaw has stood the test of time. It served you well as a municipality. And my experience in updating bylaws is to actually update and modernize them as opposed to tossing them out. You may end up with an amending bylaw that might be extensive, but the amending bylaw would be consolidated into the existing bylaw so that you'd effectively just have the one document. Now, as a result of the review I've already done, there are some new subjects and also my experience in working with other municipalities. And although it's almost passé to some extent, Kathy has forced me out of retirement, or she wouldn't allow me to retire, or something of that sort, you see. So anyways, there are still some new subjects that we'll have to consider. So I'm going to be assigning a bit of homework to you as a council to think about. And one is with respect to storage containers. There's nothing in the new official plan that gives any direction to council on how to deal with storage containers. And storage containers are these units. They're sometimes called sea cans. They're in some cases surplus containers that have been shipped from elsewhere in the world, and they're purchased locally, or they're fabricated by a company and sold. And in a number of cases, they've been used to replace storage sheds or even garages for that matter. But depending on the shape of the container, they can be an eyesore or they can be a visual obstruction depending on where they're located. So a number of the recent bylaws I have prepared or updated for municipalities, I've dealt with the storage issue. So your homework on this one is to think about whether storage containers should be addressed through the zoning bylaw, and more particularly on residential properties, notably in the village areas. How many would you allow on a residential lot? What size might they be? Because you could get anything from 16 feet to maybe 40 feet or more. What height should they be? And where should they be located on the property so that they meld in into the residential setting? So the homework is to consider that, and is also to consider what you might do in the rural area, whether you want to control the location of storage containers on rural residential properties and on waterfront properties. And there may be a more sensitive response to storage containers on waterfront properties in your municipality. So that's one thing I would like council to think about. Another is the live work units, which is a new policy in your official plan. Live work units being the units that are installed on a property to allow people to work at home and also live at essentially on the same property. And the question there is the extent of the kinds of services that might be provided out of a live work unit. The policies in the official plan suggest that it could be any of the home-based occupations that are permitted or home-based businesses, but there may be other types of uses that that you may want to allow as well. So I would encourage council to look at your existing zoning bylaw and the scope of home-based businesses and think about whether there are some additional businesses that you want to encourage, because in your kind of a setting, you don't have the large retail formats that you have in larger centers. So you're looking for the local economy to provide services that don't require people to drive to Kingston for or to Ottawa or whatever the case may be, but supports the local economic base. And the other thing I would like to say is that being this is an opportunity to update the zoning bylaw, you may have some ideas on what changes you think should be incorporated as part of that update. You may have had occasion to read parts of the bylaw and maybe you don't understand them, or you think that they should be clarified or changed or modernized as the case may be. So there's a bit of a homework exercise there as well, as to look at the existing zoning bylaw if you can, and think about changes that might be necessary. And an example is if you have a commercial zone. So you look at the list of commercial uses that are permitted in that zone, and you think about, well, is that list comprehensive enough, or are there uses on that list that shouldn't be permitted because they're not important or relevant to Central Frontenac? So it's looking at the list of permitted uses in the various zones that you might want to consider as well. I propose to meet with you as a council early in May. We'll set a date, and on that occasion, you will have in your hands an issues report that I will have prepared, suggesting issues that should be addressed and updated in the zoning bylaw. And likely I will have some draft to give you as well, so that you can see what impacts it might have or what changes there might be to the zoning bylaw. So there will be that consultation, a specific consultation session with council. I would also point out that we've already arranged a consultation session, a meeting with the planners in the county of Frontenac, and Kathy and I, and perhaps your Andy might be willing to attend as well, so that we can discuss some of the specific issues, such as storage containers, such as live work units, and there are a number of other subjects I will be asking them about as well. So that gives you just a brief overview of the process. As indicated by Kathy, this council wants to have that updated bylaw in place with your current term of council, and that does make a lot of sense, because that means you will have two fresh documents, everything that you require to encourage the development that is occurring and will occur in the future of your community. So with that as kind of an overview, Madam Mayor, I'm certainly amenable to any questions that any members of council have. And as I say, there's lots of faces I do recognize. There are new members of council I don't know as yet, but I look forward to meeting you all in person shortly.
Excellent. Thank you, Glenn. Questions, Tom?
Thank you, Your Worship, to Glenn. Glenn, is tiny houses similar to what they did in Kingston with those 5 or 6 homes for the homeless. Is that something we should be looking in the new zoning bylaw?
Through the mayor to Councillor Dewey, absolutely. The policies of your official plan do make provision for tiny houses and of various kinds, as a matter of fact. And so there will be, and this is a fairly standard thing that I'm doing now in updates to official plans is, or sorry, zoning bylaws, is to provide for tiny homes. The challenge, Councillor Dewey, is deciding on the minimum size of a tiny home. Usually they are 300 square feet, if I can use the imperial units, 300 square feet or more. There is kind of a progression in that units that are over 500 square feet are considered small homes, as distinguished from tiny homes. And the difference that you must consider is whether the tiny home must be built on a foundation as opposed to a mobile unit. Often you see these tiny homes on wheels that are rolled into the property and can be rolled off. But council's concern will obviously be the servicing of those units. So sewage treatment is necessary, water supply is necessary. But again, the short and long of my answer is yes, tiny homes are permitted under your official plan. It's a case of establishing appropriate zone standards to make sure that they complement and fit in with other development in your community.
Thanks, Glenn.
Okay. Bill, go ahead.
Yes, Glenn, good to see you again. I thought I was the only one that got white hair over the years, but we still have some. And a question, Glenn, is this where we should be addressing the issue of the short-term rentals that are happening throughout the area? And it's becoming an issue, and I don't know whether it fits in here or not.
Could you clarify what you mean by short-term rentals?
Well, that's people who own cottages. And we've had issues where groups are, owners are not living in their cottage, but they're renting it out to people on the weekends. And it's creating quite an issue in regard to how the people that are there for short-term are actually using the property and how it's affecting neighbors and all that.
Yeah. Would be like Airbnbs.
Yeah. Through the mayor to Councillor McDonald, it's not an easy issue to deal with. What I have done in another municipality is stipulate in the zoning bylaw that if you do undertake a rental, that it must comply with the Airbnb regulations. Airbnb are fairly strict, as I understand it, and from my own experience in using Airbnb, they're strict about rentals. So that is some measure of control. The issue that you are faced with, and it's in part a resource issue, is enforcing whatever you decide to put in your zoning bylaw. And in a small municipality, the resources, your bylaw enforcement resources are not the same as they are in large municipalities. So I guess part of the answer, Councillor McDonald, is ensuring that the Airbnb regs are met, so that it's not an arbitrary rental in that sense. But it's something I can certainly look into further if there's other practices, maybe in Ontario, of people regulating these.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I guess what we all need to do is give some thought to the issues that Glenn has mentioned and jot down some notes. And I think it would be quite fine to send any questions or comments on to Kathy as they come to you, and she can ship them on to Glenn, who can be prepared to answer those when we get together in May, or to work around what needs to be done with the issue that we have brought forward. So don't hesitate to email your thoughts and comments on what's to come in the zoning bylaw. Okay, if there's nothing else, thank you very much, Glenn. I look forward to working with you again.
And I
Thank
certainly
you.
look forward to working with you, Madam Mayor, and all members of council, and certainly your staff as well. I always find your staff are very, very helpful and very, very supportive in providing the documentation I require. So thanks.
Great. Okay, I have a motion, and the motion is moved by Tom Dewey, seconded by Sherry Wan, that council receive for information the presentation from Glenn Tannock regarding the zoning bylaw update for information. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay. Thank you, Glenn, and we'll all be in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, next we have a presentation from Guianne Kellyon from the Charlotte Lake Rink Group. Cindy, do you have Guianne in the wings?
Just coming online right now.
Okay. Welcome, Guianne. You want to turn on your video and your volume?
Hi, everyone. I'm going to try and put on my video. I'm usually the host of these things, so I'm not really sure. Oh, here we go. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hello, we can see you. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen, if that is okay with you all.
Yes, that's fine.
And here we go. So I am here today. My name is Guianne Kellyon, a lifelong resident of Charlotte Lake. And today, on behalf of myself and our group or committee, I will be proposing a ice rink / proposal for a all year round sport court to council. So I just wanted to begin by saying thank you to Madam Mayor Smith, as well as all council members, for certainly taking out the time to read my presentation or our presentation, as well as reading the materials beforehand as well. I'm gonna just move my panel away as I can't see. There we go. So the first picture is a picture of a rink that we took from Perth. So this just gives you an idea of the proposed rink and what it may look like. The second picture you guys may not have in your package, but I saw it yesterday when I was at the Home Hardware, and my dad has this in his office. And this was a picture of the old rink that used to exist many, many years ago. So that is just a nice little picture that I thought I wanted to include in the presentation. So going ahead, our group of members have held regular meetings since the summer of 2020. We're a diverse cross-sectional or cross-generational group of individuals who were either born and raised here or are new to the area, but we all are committed to seeing this project through, and we are committed to doing whatever we can to help see this through. All members of this group do bring a certain level of expertise and relevant knowledge that are necessary to help in the execution of this initiative. So members include myself, Sherry Wan, Tyson Myers, Craig Middleton, Joel Gray, Spencer Robinson, Keith Duggan, Curtis Jackson, Dave Willis, Allison Robinson, and Leslie / Kevin Merrigan. I would like to acknowledge and thank members of the OZO Rec Committee for providing us with the foundational materials, which allowed us to proceed forward with this project. Back in 2015, there were geostudies and engineered drawings that were done for the canteen as well as a potential rink, and they were able to provide us with those documents. Those members also erected the canteen at the Oliver Scott Memorial Park in 2017, and they were also at the time actively fundraising for a proposed rink in Charlotte Lake. So I wanted to make sure that we do acknowledge them here today. So official proposal. The official proposal that we have come up with will be a phased project. So it's something that will roll in. The first phase will be obviously being here today and hopefully receiving support from council. And then the second phase would be actual implementation of the rink / sport court. And the third phase, as you saw in some of the later pictures, would be a potential roof or cover. So today, the official proposal is to seek the permission and support from council to begin the planning and implementation of a 60-foot by 120-foot all year round ice multi-sport court / ice rink in the parking lot of the Oliver Scott Memorial Park, and also looking to become a subcommittee of the OZA Rec Committee to help us apply for potential grants, obviously a liability insurance coverage, and also use for the canteen, and that will help hopefully generate some income. So when you look to the picture on your right, we do see that the pad itself, the concrete pad itself, is 60 by 120. And there is a reason for that. And the rink itself is 50 by 100. Now, the reason that we did the 60 by 120 is that does allow us in the future to put a building, a roof or a cover over this court. And there are benefits to that later down the road. So we did go over certain areas, different locations throughout Charlotte Lake before circling back to the Ball Diamond parking lot. We found that this was the most practical area to have a proposed rink. We have the canteen that was designed or built to with the rink, and also we have the Ball Diamond, and we have the school as well that is certainly walkable from the village as well to the rink. So our group laid out a few layouts, and we had seemed to all agree on the layout one. I do want to thank Tyson and Noah for designing these images for us and doing some measurements. So they proposed this layout, which we liked the most. We thought parking is efficient here, whereas in layout 2, we do see that we run into the issue of a little bit of an angled parking, not as clean from our point of view. Now, if there are proposals that perhaps other council members may have, I'm sure Tyson or Noah would be more than helpful to generate some layouts to send back to us. So we're more than welcome to have any feedback from council members or Mayor Madame Smith yourself as well. So obviously they'll have positive community impacts. We'll have increased outdoor activity in the community, enhanced social well-being as well as social engagement, helping build strong families, communities. We wanted this to be used all year round, so it doesn't stay stagnant for 6 months on and 6 months off. It's located walking distance from GREC, which is great for students, and obviously gym classes or recesses. I've always envisioned examples of skate night or hockey nights that other local communities have done, which have generated some income as well, but also a lot of hype around the community. So that is certainly a positive thing. And also we'll be able to utilize the canteen a lot more than what it has been. I think it hasn't been, obviously with COVID, it's been hard to utilize it to its potential, but I think with having an additional recreational facility or rink there, that we would be able to generate some income there. So this is just an example. This is taken from Perth. This is new. They just built this in December next to the fire hall there. And it is a 50 by 100 rink, and it would mirror this as well. So I wanted to share that. Now, this is a future concept design. So our 60 by 120 concrete pad, this is something that we've envisioned having over, obviously being in phase is not something that would happen, you know, within the next year or so, but definitely something to think about in the future. Basically having a roof over the rink or the sport court will allow for providing shade in the summer, as well as decreasing the amount of snow removal in the winter. Also, it's aesthetically pleasing to look at. I think it will draw a lot of attention from the road, and it's not full coverage, which we were hoping to aim for, as opposed to a full covered rink. So that's just an example of what it could look like. this is also an example of what it could look like as well. So moving forward, with council support, our committee will continue to work on this very exciting initiative. I know a lot of people are on our group. We are come from a skating background, hockey background, recreation background. So they're very excited to work towards this. We would like the opportunity to present a further detailed budget within the next upcoming weeks. And also the meeting will arrange such that council will be able to ask more of the technical questions around some of the materials used, as well as any other questions that maybe relate to other members of the group who bring that expertise. And with that being said, I thank you for your time and on behalf of the members as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Good presentation. If you'll take the sharing down, we'll get council back and see if there's any questions or comments for you.
Sure, I will send it back to, there we go. Cindy.
There we go. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Certainly, I can remember many, many events where we were raising money for the rink. So it's great to see that plans have been resurrected for this project. Would the base be asphalt as part of the all-purpose use?
So I think generally speaking, I believe it wouldn't be asphalt, and maybe Tyson can give his comments on this. I know that the technical aspects with the concrete and the actual foundation is probably more expertise from, let's say, Tyson or Keith or Spencer and even Kevin. So I don't know, Tyson, if you have anything to add.
Madam Mayor, the base would be, there'd be a drainage layer of granular underneath of a concrete pad with structural steel rebar and mesh inside of it.
I guess I was thinking of pickleball. Is that something that could happen on this surface? Oh,
Absolutely,
it
it could. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely, it could.
Yeah,
Good.
and we were thinking along the lines of doing skating, broom ball, any kind of activity in the summer. It would be converted into, you could do a tennis court. We wouldn't do basketball because the school has basketball at the high school there, the GREC. So we wanted to make it so it's multi-purpose. So absolutely, I think pickleball, tennis, things like that.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, the geotechnical report shows various depths of soil and some kind of not the best suitable material for foundation. It'd require a lot of excavation down to rock and at various depths. So the with the drainage layer of granular and the type of slab that we've selected that Guianne has worked so hard to get pricing on, it's actually self-supporting. So that slab doesn't require excavating down to rock, or it doesn't require any more of a foundation other than just a thickened outer like a thickened outer footing.
Excellent. Bill, you had your hand up.
Yes, to you, Madam Mayor, to Guianne, is that I certainly support this project because I can see it as another addition to the community. Now, we have some issues with outdoor rinks in regard to climate change and that sort of thing, and how much use we're getting out of them when it just comes to outdoor skating and that kind of stuff in the wintertime. So my feeling is I don't think we can afford an artificial service of freezing, but on the other hand, I do support the project and whatever I can do to move it forward. I know it's probably not going to happen before the next election, but I'll let my voice in positive to the project at this point. So.
Thank you.
Sherry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say a great job on the presentation. I know this group's meant a lot and has worked very hard and would like to see this come to fruition. I know Dave Willis will be so happy. I know he's wanted this for many, many years. And I just wanted to say I love the idea that it's not just limited to just a rink for wintertime, but that it is a sport court and it can be utilized through all seasons. So I just wanted to say good job, everyone.
Excellent. Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not sure who I want to throw this question out to, but I believe some years ago, Dave Willis acquired some boards from Ottawa, some rink in Ottawa, and brought them down. I believe they're still in storage somewhere. Are they not in Charlotte Lake? Is that right, Gianna?
So I believe in one of our earlier meetings in the summer, and maybe Tyson or Sherry may confirm, I believe those boards are rotted. And that is why we have not decided to use them. They may still be in storage somewhere, but I believe they were not usable at the time that we spoke to Dave.
Okay, thank
Sherry,
you.
go ahead.
I think sadly, yes. I think Dave Willis, he had tried to get this project on the go many, many years ago, and I think it's just been too long, and they've sat in storage, and unfortunately, at this point, would no longer be usable.
Thanks, Sherry.
Okay, I'm going to read, okay, Victor, and then I'll read the motion and we can talk more. Go ahead, Victor.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just sort of have like a procedural question. It seems that one of the asks is that they become a subcommittee of the District 3 Rec Committee. Do we need, as council, do we need to approve that, or can they, the Rec Committee itself, just create a subcommittee?
I'll let Kathy answer that, but as far as I'm aware, it can be the Rec Committee, subcommittees. It would still, if you're applying for money, it would still need to be under, I think, the OSO Rec Committee with
Yes.
this as a project.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. So I had included that on the, just to make it clear on the resolution, so that if they are applying for, I put it basically that they're under the umbrella of the OSO Recreation Committee, you know, as a subcommittee. So they're going to be under the OSO Recreation Committee as the as the overarching authority.
Yes, you may have members of the committee that aren't interested in working on this project separately. They might be just interested in other things that the Rec Committee are doing. So this gives them the opportunity to break off and do specialized things.
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I'll read the motion.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that that they were going to be able to do what they needed to do, or whether they needed to go through council for approval. So
Right.
I'm in support either way. Just want to make sure that they have the power to do what they need to do.
Okay. Okay, I'll read the motion and then we can talk more if we need to. Motion is moved by Sherry Wan and seconded by Bill McDonald that council receive the presentation from Gian Callion regarding Charlotte Lake Rink/Sport Court proposal for information. And whereas the group acknowledges the efforts of the OSO Recreation Committee as they provided the foundational materials such as engineered drawings and geo studies back in 2015, which has allowed them to proceed on this project. And whereas they are looking for council's permission and support on this project so they can begin planning and implementation of a 60-foot by 120-foot all year round multi-purpose ice rink, 4-season sport court at the Oliver Scott Memorial Park. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council support the Charlotte Lake Ice Rink Sport Court project and that this project come under the umbrella of the OSO Recreation Committee as a subcommittee. Okay, any more questions or comments?
No, I just want to mention to Gian, I remember way back when I was in high school that and that's when Oliver Scott, and that's how we had ended up, that they made and named it the Oliver Scott Memorial Park, because he looked after the rink and he was tirelessly, I think, always shoveled and everything, but we played broom ball and everything and made with the OPP and different groups when we were in high school. So I think that's a great add-on for the municipality for sure.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, and continue with your work and let us know when you need us to help with some fundraising.
Thank you so much. And I will propose that we will probably come forward within the next couple of weeks with a budget proposal as well as different options with more members in person, hopefully for the next meeting. So it will be nice to see everybody. So I do thank you for your time and thank you for your support on behalf of myself and the committee. Tyson, Sherry, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a
Take care.
Aye.
Okay, next we have communications, correspondence. Moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Victor Hayes, that council receive for information the following correspondence, and it's 1 to 15. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, bylaws. There's no public meetings. Okay, moved by Brent Cameron, seconded by Tom Dewey, that bylaw 2022-13 being a bylaw to appoint building inspectors and to repeal bylaw 2017-28 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 8th day of March 2022. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that bylaw 2022-14 being a bylaw to appoint inspectors for the purpose of enforcing the prescribed maintenance standards contained in Ontario Regulation 517-06 under the Residential Tenancy Act, SO 2006, Chapter 17, and to repeal 2018-31 be read a first, second, and third time, and finally pass this 8th day of March 2022. Any questions or comments? Bill, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, just a question of clarity. Is this basically driven by complaint driven?
I believe it is.
Yes.
Andy or Kathy?
Yes, it would be, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. And moved by Tom Dewey, seconded by Victor Hayes, that bylaw 2022-15 being a bylaw to appoint building inspectors for Part 8 of the Building Code and to repeal bylaw 2021-08 be read a first, second, and third time and finally pass this 8th day of March 2022. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Full of bylaws tonight. One more. Moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Sherry Wan, that bylaw 2022-16 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2020-17, being a bylaw to amend 2017-42 procedural bylaw, be read a first, second, and third time and finally pass this 8th day of March 2022. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Is there any notices of motions?
No,
Is there any giving of notice of motions?
no, Madam Mayor.
Okay, any new or other business?
No.
Okay, next we have our closed session. I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Cindy Kelsey that council move into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss 1, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, 239(2) F Othel Road. Number 2, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, section 239(2) C, Mountain Grove former library school. All those in favor? Motion's carried. So we go out of this meeting and into our closed link that Cindy sent out earlier. Is that right, Cindy?
Correct. I'll open up that link right now.